All right, welcome everyone to the Ubiquitous and Social Computing session. I'm calling this a smorgasbord and 4 courses. Myself, Ramesh Rao, Deborah Estrin, and Beth Minot are going to be speaking in sequence. We have all the slides on this computer, so hopefully we can keep things moving quickly. I'm going to be talking, just giving a general introduction to ubiquitous computing, try to bring everyone up to speed on what it is and what we're doing. Ramesh Rao is going to talk about his healthware at UCSD project. Deborah Estrin is going to talk about OpenM Health, and Beth Minot is going to do wrap up. So why do we need ubiquitous computing? Let me provide a caricature, if you will. So here's the doctor and the patient. Doctor, how much are you exercising? Patient, I'm trying to run 3 days a week. How far? Oh, I don't know, maybe 3 miles. Doctor, how's your diet? Pretty good. I've cut back on fats. Doctor, I'd like you to focus on eating more fruits and vegetables. So we see here that there's a lot of imprecision in the information here. And so this leads to a number of possible observations. The main one is that the activities that affect your health are remote in time and space from the doctor's office. It's perhaps the worst time for the doctor to have an effect on your health, peculiarly. It's very hard to determine what the patient is actually doing with their time and their behavior. And the ability of the doctor to change the patient's behavior is quite limited. He says something, she says something, and maybe the patient will do it or not. Maybe they'll remember, maybe they won't, etc. So what we need is the ability to capture detailed, accurate data, which usually means in the moment that the activity is happening, behavior is happening, and we also want the ability to intervene in the moment. Okay? Those are 2 things we're really seeking from ubiquitous computing. So what is ubiquitous computing? Let me provide a definition to maybe hopefully broaden your perspectives a little bit. Loosely speaking, at a high level, we could call it computing in and about the physical world, the physical environment. So it's really bringing the virtual, the digital, and the physical together. So first, it's about sensing in the physical world, being able to determine location, say air quality, heart rate, etc. And then it's linking that digital data to the places and objects that they're measured from and situating them in time as well. So we might say for this runner here that there's specific air quality now in Salt Lake City and that you're running in Salt Lake City. And then we need to make inferences about that, about the physical world. So we might say that the particular air quality right now puts you at risk because of your level of physical activity. And then the final step is to augment or manipulate the physical world. So we're going to intervene and change the behavior of this runner. We're going to have to display some data, send an alert, vibrate the phone, something like that, suggest an alternative route. There are a lot of opportunities here, a lot of possibilities. And then the last thing I want to say, it's not really a step, is that for this to work, or what our vision is that this is an always-on infrastructure, and it's always connected, and that it's everywhere, and that it's for everyone. And I think that last one particularly speaks to the patient empowerment piece. But to point out that if it's not always on and available everywhere, then I can't know my air quality everywhere, because there are times that my air quality isn't getting measured, then we don't have a complete picture of exposure. And if it's not affordable and it's not available everywhere, then it can't be everyone's air quality. So, issues of, say, population health, disparities, etc. So that's sort of the vision for ubiquitous computing and what sort of drives our research area. So there are opportunities abound. Of course, many of you are familiar with these. Smartphones with a very rich sensor and display platform, actuation platform. Lots of other sensors, commodity sensors, very affordable now, are becoming available of all kinds. Networking is becoming pervasive and inexpensive and relatively low power. The power of cloud computing really has the potential to change things dramatically, because now we can store vast amounts of data in the cloud at relatively low cost, and it can be available everywhere because of the networking. So we now have a place to put all that sensor data. Novel interaction display techniques. Here we have someone interacting with a large display using the Xbox Kinect technology, which can sense your body positions and movements. And last but not least, social networking in the form of Facebook or any other number of social network platforms provides the ability to share our data in new and novel ways with people who are important to us. So it all sounds great, so why doesn't it all just work? Well, this is our job security in some sense for us technologists. The technology itself is nascent. It's rather expensive. I mean, we think of it as cheap, but if we start looking, say, into the disparities issues, it still looks pretty expensive. And it's very buggy. If you've tried to use any of this, you know, it can get pretty amusing or frustrating depending on the situation. Sensing the world is actually quite hard because what's measured is always going to be a little bit different than what's actually there. And so there's a little loss of information when we translate the reality into bits. And then when we try to lift that bits into knowledge and ultimately into action, there can be even more noise, more errors introduced, and those can become quite serious when your health becomes involved. Thirdly, one we always think about is scale. Doing this for me might be easy. Doing it for everybody at scale, all the time, everywhere, that's a lot of complexity. Then we start getting into systems of systems problems and some of the issues that Bill Rouse talked about this morning. Another problem is that we don't fully understand the need. And I don't mean to say we don't understand that we have a health problem, but the very particulars of it only become evident when we deploy these systems and implement interventions, and then things don't come out as we planned. And so that really shows that our theory and experience are lacking and what makes this area so exciting for us. Lastly, we have to cope with extant infrastructure and practices. So we can't just tear down the world and rebuild it. We have to incrementally build things in. You can't just run wire everywhere you want to and so forth. And so working with existing standards and computing technologies, all that makes it hard to introduce new technologies. So I'm just going to give you one example here of how this might all come together. This is my CitiSense project. This is with several people at UCSD. So here I'm showing Lisa, who is a runner and also an asthmatic, and she's trying to plan her run and said, what could we do for her? Well, if we look on this map of air quality sensors deployed in the San Diego region, you don't see any. And that's because they're all somewhere else for various geologic, topographic, and political reasons. So the regional measures really aren't going to help her very much here. So great, we could design a board with some air quality sensors on it and put that on her, and then have that Bluetooth to her. Whoops, something went out of. Oh yeah, sorry. And then have that, Bluetooth to her phone and give her some air quality data. Okay, excellent. So the thing is that in planning her run, she wants to know where the air quality, where she isn't quite yet. So that's where it'd be advantageous to put a lot of people out there with this technology, and that they could share that into the network, connect that to the EPA data, which may provide some additional information since they have much more powerful sensors, bigger sensors. And now we can get a map of the whole region. Applying some statistical machine learning, you can actually get the gradient for the entire area. And now Lisa has something she can work with, and also makes it available to people who aren't carrying the technology, which from a disparities standpoint is very nice. Of course, once you have this, you can share this with policymakers, the press, and your own doctor. And you could even say, post this on social networks so your friends can see what's going on. Turns out that we've learned that this sort of information isn't so useful presented in this form, and that it might be more useful in this form, since people can understand where you've been as where they've been, and they can start to appreciate maybe their own air quality issues. So I think that's, so a couple of more things. So we just did a pre-study. We're running a comprehensive study right now. But working with bike commuters, we found that that carrying such technologies increased their awareness. They found it to be useful, and that they would use it again and even recommend it to others. In the pollution data, we found that the instantaneous levels of compounds like NO2 and CO, carbon monoxide, were sometimes much higher than reported by the regional sensors deployed by the air quality district. And in fact, when you drill into this, that these exposures tend to come when you're crossing major roadways. And so what we're suspecting is that people's exposures on these major roadways are much higher than reported by the air quality district.